From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Aslan and Corey. It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Man, Corey, I'm going to ask you here in a second how your Tuesday went, because I can only imagine how grueling your Tuesday was. But I know what would cheer you up despite all that. Maybe the sensation sandwich, but with all this hubbub about chicken sandwiches, people at home, they realize that there's the Southern TLC sandwich at Zaxby's too, right? Like the classic old-fashioned fried chicken on a bun with tomato and lettuce and all that good stuff. It's out there. Do they know that, Corey?
I mean, they better.
Okay.
They better. And if not, they better get themselves educated.
Okay. How would that have done for your day on Tuesday? Because let me not spoil it. You tell everybody what your Tuesday was like, Corey Clark.
I mean, look, again, I'm not digging ditches. This isn't real work. Tuesday's a bit of a grind. Got to get up, with most people listening to this show, probably around 7:30 is when I got up. Go out to football practice like you did. Be there for interviews, watch a little practice, all at 10 minutes of it. Then go over to the studios, 97.9 ESPN, and record Seminole Headlines, the award-winning Seminole Headlines for a couple hours.
Hour number two. And then get on the road. Sometimes I write. Sometimes I get right back on the road, but I came up here to Georgia so I can be with my son for the next, 2 nights for sure. And then who knows with this tropical storm, maybe I'm here for the whole week. Who knows? So then I get here, I put him to bed, and then I talk to you. And then after I'm done with you, I'm going to write a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make it sound like you're digging ditches, but in the realm of sports journalism, like that's a hell of a day, friend. That's a lot.
It was crazy. I was just texting with Ira about something. And I'm like, I was almost texting him like, hey, how was Harlan? And I'm like, oh no, we haven't gotten Harlan yet. We got Kendall Browse. That was today. Yeah. It is a really long day, but I mean, look, it's about time I started working a little bit.
By the way, why are you trying to scare everybody about this weather? I think we're going to be okay.
Oh, you do?
I don't think it's supposed to affect Florida until maybe Sunday. I think the cone looks favorable right now, at least when we're recording this late Tuesday night. Missing Hard Knocks, by the way, that hurts my feelings. I wish I was watching Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I got it recorded. I'm watching that after this. I got a little pint of Haagen-Dazs peanut butter and chocolate ice cream.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to be eating that because I didn't have dinner. So that's going to be my dinner as I watch Hard Knocks. No, I think the real issue, obviously, I think is, number one, it's established that it's crazy that they're playing over there. It's crazy. Anyway, it's a decision that was a few years ago, so we got to let it go. But I do think there is a chance. I don't know what the likelihood is, but I do think there is a chance you move the game up. Because, again, tracking those things, it's always just hit or miss. I mean, those things are, they're easier to track than like tornadoes, right? But they speed up, they slow down, they get bigger, they break up. So we don't really know. But, I mean, there's always a chance that it could speed up or it could come up the coast and it could be hitting, the Florida coast sometime Saturday night. And if that's the case, you don't want people – number one, in a football stadium, and you don't want people driving home from a football stadium. So I think that's the thing is when you got to consider the game, I think that's what they might have to think about. When they get the real reading, which will probably be Thursday, I think, they'll get the real reading and they can decide then, I would imagine they can decide then if they want to move the game up or not. Heck, move it up to Friday night. Play Friday night.
No, man. Our guy Bimini Bound, I think, said he's flying in at 3 o'clock, so I kind of hope they don't move the kickoff time up. That'd be a bummer for folks that are flying into it.
But not as big a bummer as the game being canceled.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is BJ Rains, Blue Turf Sports, Idaho Press yesterday mentioned it. They were in the First Responders Bowl last year, Boise, and that game got canceled against Boston College, I think. or whoever they played. Yeah, so
and it was in
game.
Vegas. What was the weather? I don't remember. I know it was in Vegas, but what was the weather? Was it snow?
I don't know. Maybe just crazy sleet, or I don't know. It's like when Miami played in the Sun Bowl a few years ago. That looked like one of the most miserable bowl games ever. Like 3-4 years ago, they played.
Hey, don't even speak that into existence. Don't laugh about that.
Because
there is a chance. I was going to say but nope. That you might be in El Paso in a few months.
Jeez.
Just saying.
Gonna hang me out to dry, huh? Okay. All right, anyway, let's talk about the football team. They're a few days away from playing Boise. Season opener for both games, or for both teams, rather, if I knew how to speak. We did speak to Kendall Browse and several players on the offense. Let me start off with this just because I wrote it down, and then we can maybe pivot back to Kendall here. It's like a chicken versus egg sort of thing right now with Florida State. I think, Corey, you can set the record straight, set me straight. They need confidence to win football games, but I think to a certain extent we would like to see them win football games before they, maybe acted with hubris and confidence. And I say this because our guy, we're going to represent him when he makes the jump to the next level here in about, 4 or 5 months. Tamorrion Terry talked about the scary Terry mask. I thought it was going to be like the Scream mask from the movie Scream with Drew Barrymore, but apparently he's got this newfangled mask, which is funny. I tweeted the photo of it. I think it's kind of funny.
I feel like we should say it's the Scream movie with Nev Campbell.
Okay, yeah.
Drew Barrymore's only in it for like 6 minutes.
No, you're right. You're right.
Give Nev her props.
Sorry, Nev. You beautiful creature. You. I apologize.
Oh man, sweet Nev.
Yeah. So, and he also he talked about the matchup with Boise, and punctuated things. So basically, he said, we're here, we here, which is what the kids say. And he said Florida State is back. We're going to show everybody this on Saturday, which I think is a good thing. There's probably only a handful of guys who could get away with talking like that, I think, on the team. He's one of them. So I don't find a problem with it. I do feel a little bit uneasy just because of how they came out last season and they fell flat. This obviously new year, new coaching staff by and large, at least on the offensive staff. So is it like a chicken or egg thing, Corey? Like, do they need to think big to perform big, or should they just grind and quiet and let their play speak for itself?
Yeah, man. I mean, my opinion obviously is, don't talk. Play first and then talk afterwards. And I think most fans will probably feel that way because, again, there was probably a lot of this similar talk last season. We saw what that did. It wasn't a fun season. So at the same time, you do want them to have confidence. And he is certainly not lacking for it at all, nor should he. He's awesome and he knows it.
Yep.
I was thinking about it though, like I might even said it to you on the practice field. What are those guys in the 90s thinking? Those guys that really did have blood, sweat, and tears invested in this program, and then saw what happened last year and the debacle that was, and then they see on game week one of the receivers coming out with a mask over his head, talking about Florida State is back. And again, anybody that listens to this show knows that I am the number one Tamorrion Terry fan. There's nobody that you're probably a close second.
You're driving the bandwagon. You are driving the bandwagon.
And I've been on it for longer than anyone.
Yes.
Have I been on that bandwagon? I love that kid. I love the way he plays. I love how physical he is. I love that he was a gunner. Like, he is everything that you want a Florida State football player to be. Number one, because he's really good. He's awesome. But on top of that, he's tough. He's physical. He cares. He'll play punt coverage. Like, he's just a guy you need in your football program. That said, I can imagine maybe some guys from the 90s that still feel an investment to this program are like, are you kidding me, man? You're wearing a mask talking about how Florida State is back when you're coming off a 5-7. Like, put on the mask in the post-game locker room. Maybe. I'm saying I think that's how they would feel. To me, I don't, it's just goofy. I don't really care either way. But the problem with that is, and I'm not saying this would happen, but if you go out on Saturday night or Saturday morning, whenever they decide to play, and have 3 catches for 29 yards and you lose the game, man, the mask ain't a great look. And you're already coming off a season where you had the goofy ass purse. with the 9 turnovers you caused. So just I think Florida State fans might be more in the camp, and I shouldn't speak for them. Maybe I am speaking for myself. I don't know. I think many Florida State fans would be like, you know what, on that kind of stuff, let's cool it a little bit till we prove that we're back, till we prove that we're competent. And I think they are going to be good this year. And I think Boise State has no answers for 15. And I think if he wants to wear that mask after one of his 5 touchdowns on Saturday, or after each of his 5 touchdowns on Saturday, go right ahead, my man. I just on Tuesday morning, it was a little odd.
I'm imagining the telecast on ESPN, and they have a shot of Ron Dugans on the sideline with maybe Willie putting his arm around him, and him getting kind of emotional after and the clock winds down to all zeros. Florida State victorious 31-24 over Boise State, and you see Ron feeling emotional. He's back with his boys. First win of the season. Let's go on the field right now and let's catch up with the star of the game. And it's Tamorrion Terry talking about, touchdown Terry, scary Terry. I did it for my coach. And then he's got the mask dangling from like his neck. That's what I'm envisioning, this sort of this scene that could be such a powerful moment for the program. And it's like, hey, there's Tamorrion with his crazy mask. But yeah, hopefully he does play possessed. Hopefully he busts it out a whole bunch of times and there is somebody to put it on him. Will you have somebody like James Brown, like somebody who put the cape on the Godfather of Soul? Like, will there be somebody who puts the mask on him?
I mean, man, there's no telling. Yeah. There might be more than one. Like, that was the whole thing about Scream, was it was 2 killers. About spoiler alert, kids.
Oh, Corey, come on, man.
It's a 23-year-old movie, I think, or I think I was in college, so it's at least a 20-year-old movie. So you should know that by now. But Skeet Ulrich and the other kid are the 2 murderers. That's why they can be at 2 places at once. So maybe they'll have multiple guys in Scream mask, in the little robe thing, in the sickle. I mean, it does. Hey, if you win, go do whatever you want. Go light the field on fire. Literally go do whatever you want to do if you win. Just, I think, and again, it's not a big deal. I'm not being an old guy that's like they can't have any fun. Go have fun, man. Just know that if things don't go well, there's always a backlash to that kind of stuff. Yeah. There's always a backlash. If you're going to be a guy that wears a mask, go out and earn the right to wear a mask. Then again, my dude almost always does do that. So if there was one guy on the team, maybe, Marvin too. If there's 2 guys on the team that can get away with something like that, it's those 2 guys, because Florida State fans are already big fans of theirs and quite well aware of how good they are.
A tangent I'm going to go off on here real briefly, though. I mean, you mentioned do whatever you want after they win the game. It hit me the other night. This has been a very quiet offseason, and I'm knocking on wood. Everything worked out good, right? Nobody got in trouble. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing, sure.
We should celebrate. We should embrace that. It's a good thing. Let's take a break. You weren't feeling that. Let's come back. Let's come back stronger after this. Hey, Corey.
Hey, Aslan.
Hey, remember that? What was that TV show on Nickelodeon where they were all like in lockers and they would come out and they would talk to each other? Like, you can't do that on television?
Yeah, the great Alanis Morissette was on that show for a little bit.
Well, you can do this on a podcast. I'll just say what's up to you, Corey. You like Heather Birch, right? Dr. Heather Birch, Birch Orthodontics. You're a fan, right?
I've heard nothing but great things about her work. Ira Schaffel, the great Ira Schaffel, and Jeff Cameron swear by her. Says she's a great person. My girlfriend is going to be taking her daughter there. So nothing but positive feedback about Dr. Birch, about Heather Birch. But I've never met the woman.
Okay.
And apparently she was at Jeff Cameron's appreciation party on Saturday night. But by the time I got there, she had already left. So I was really disappointed about that.
All right. Well, good for you, though. You have a great smile. But if you're in the midst of a smile journey, check out birchorthodontics.com. You can get set up a free consultation to get those pearly whites nice and aligned, because that's what everybody likes, a nice, happy smile. And, you talked about Jeff Cameron, the great Irish O'Fell, taking their children there. Your better half, Stephanie, taking hers. How about Gene Williams, founder, administrator, the Don, the Godfather? He sends his daughters to Dr. Heather Birch, too. So check out Dr. Heather Birch. All right, Corey. So I started this week off with us here on Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's, on a pretty high note, and it wasn't forced. It wasn't contrived. Every day I come on this show, I am who I am. I do what I do. I say what I say. I mean what I say. I say what I mean. I think I said one of those things twice, so it's kind of weird probably. I'm slowly. I had a little bit of anxiety after watching practice. We only got to watch, so now it's almost ridiculous for me to talk about practice. We literally only saw 2 periods. But
Right.
the clock started late on one of the periods, so we almost got like a bonus period out of it. So we got close to 15 minutes. Anyhow, they do the whole 4-on-4 thing to start practice off now. 3 offensive linemen against 3 defensive linemen. There's a running back and there's a linebacker, and, you got to get past the linebacker if you're the running back. And, first rep, Corey Durden, who we're going to speak to Harlan Barnett later today, Wednesday. I want to kind of ask him, how would you describe Corey Durden? Is he a savage, violent man on the football field, or is he like slippery, deceptively quick? Like what is his game? He got the best of Jawan Williams in the first snap of that drill. Absolutely blew up the play. Very next snap, it's pretty much the starting 3 against the I think it was starting 3 on starting 3 because it was Jawan. Actually, no, I shouldn't say, because Brady was 2 guys down. So Brady Scott, that is, wasn't playing left guard, on the hip of Jawan Williams. There was somebody in the middle. I'm guessing maybe Bavion. I don't have the video in front of me. But anyhow, next snap, Marvin Wilson, who we assume is probably going to do this to a lot of people, but he manhandles Brady Scott. And like in that moment, I got this sort of like sharp shooting pain in the gut. I'm like, man, I want to believe things are going to be different. I think they'll be different, but maybe it's going to be incrementally more so than a big stride. And I know people don't want to think that Boise has dangerous guys, despite people chuckle. So it's all Mountain West. What does that mean? But this is going to be a really big challenge, and gosh, man, I'm feeling that anxiety again about the offensive line. But I guess probably you're not, because you've taken a wait and see approach the whole time, right?
Sure. And yeah, again, it's 2 snaps. So it only took you 2 snaps to get back to anxious. But yeah, so for the people that don't know, Corey Durden just completely blew up the play, completely pushed him back and made the play, I think, in the backfield, which doesn't really happen all that much in that drill. And then the next play, you said dismissed. I'm only bringing this up because I already talked about it on headlines. But Marvin literally just threw Brady Scott to the ground, swung and pushed him to the ground and ran, and the play went to the other side. But I will say this, that's Marvin Wilson. Yeah. And I think Corey Durden's an NFL player too. I think both those guys are in the league. Marvin Wilson, for sure. Marvin Wilson's awesome. And the reason, so what I brought up on headlines, which I was going to bring up here anyway, because I wanted to talk about those 2 plays, because that was really the only things that were interesting in anything we saw, was that Kendall Briles. I thought it was interesting when somebody asked him about, Coach Taggart said that the defense kind of got the upper hand in the scrimmage on Saturday. And Kendall Briles was like, he said that? That's what he said? Like, yeah. Really? Well, that's weird. Like, I thought. So you could tell, number one, Kendall Briles was pretty competitive, which is awesome. But then he said 2 things. He said, we shot ourselves in the foot probably a little bit too much. He did seem surprised by that analysis. But so I think that means the offense did pretty well. But also he said, look, when Marvin Wilson wrecks a lot of things, I can't remember what his direct quote was, but he basically said Marvin Wilson's a monster. He when he's in there, he wrecks things. So, and again, I know that's going up against Florida State's offensive line, but that's one of the better players in the country at that position. So it would be much more worrisome to me. And maybe this is a pie in the sky. Maybe this is not the best way to look at it. If Brady Scott pancaked Marvin Wilson, because that would be like, oh man, Marvin's not healthy, and that's a really big part. Like, you know what I mean? Like that would be stunning.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Marvin Wilson doing to Brady Scott exactly what Marvin Wilson should be doing to Brady Scott. One-on-one, no help. Marvin Wilson would do that to 95% of the guards in the country. Just completely dismiss you. And it wasn't like it was he's always going to see double teams most likely. That was just you're trying to block me. You can't block me because I'm awesome and you're still a sophomore. So, no, I don't think that's really a reason to be apprehensive necessarily. And I do think Jawan came back and had a couple of nice reps later on in the drill. But either way, the Boise has some serious players on defense, at least a couple of guys. But, Marvin Wilson's a different cat. So no, you don't want to be too pessimistic just because you saw that.
Okay, fair enough. Good job. I'm off the ledge.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I'm fine. Anything else of note you thought that Kendall said? It was our time with him was quite brief, I felt like. I think that might have been the more interesting thing, him kind of bristling at the fact that it was characterized as his offense not getting the better half of things during the scrimmage. I mean, anything you think interesting about his thoughts about the quarterback position, battle, whatever you want to call it?
No, not really. What was his answer? His answer was kind of what, James? He said he felt like they have two starting quarterbacks, but James just had a little more better chemistry with him because he's been here longer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we had heard. Again, I do think, and I'm probably 100% incorrect on this. I do think part of this is they know that Hornibrook is a really important part of this program, and they don't want to say, yeah, there's really there. It's a pretty big gap. Our Blackman won this pretty easily. It was a pretty big separate. You wouldn't say that. I don't know that any quarterback. I mean, no coach that I've covered 5 or 6 or 8 of these things. Most with Jimbo, obviously, and he would never come out and say, yeah, Ponder completely obliterated Devontre. It wasn't close. Like, it's always really close. That's how coordinators, that's how head coaches typically talk about QB battles, because they do want to keep that second stringer involved. And keep them practicing hard, keep them working hard, whatever you have to do, because they know they're probably going to need Alex Hornibrook at some point. So they don't want him to think that he has no chance to play for the rest of the season. So I do think there's something to that. At the same time, there's also a strong likelihood that it was 1A and 1B, and the guy that's been here longer just got the advantage. I don't know if I believe that. I just don't know if I believe that, because if Blackman did win the job easily, why would they say that? They have more reason to not make up. They have more reason to maybe embellish a little bit about how close it was, as opposed to vice versa, saying, well, look, it wasn't really all that close. Blackman had control from start to finish, and he was easily the best of the 3. You wouldn't say that. Coaches just don't talk like that. So anyway, so I don't know. But he basically said what Willie said, that it was really close. They feel like they have 2 starters, and James just has a little bit better chemistry.
Well said. All right.
Not really. I was kind of all over the place. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm ready for the game to get here, Aslan. I'm ready.
Thankfully, we have, we got like 2 more shows. It's like, what are we going to talk about at this point? But we do have the Renegade Express coming up tomorrow. Leave your questions over on the Tribal Council. If you're not a member of WarChant.com, use that promo code Adidas. It's still active. $75 e-card that you can use on Adidas.com, and more importantly, a 25% discount off your membership to WarChant.com. Leave your questions again on the Tribal Council. It's the Renegade Express, brought to you by First Commerce Financial. I hope no one thinks I was making light of what Ron Dugans has endured here in the last month or so. I do think that it potentially is like a storyline that they might mention on the telecast. He was back. He'd miss a couple of practices. He wasn't at media day. I don't think he was with the team when they took the team photo. Dugans lost his mother. He's to her battle with cancer. He's an only child, I think, is what Willie said when we asked him last week about the absence. For him to be back, very powerful, sort of emotional moment for him to be back on just the practice field. And then he was asked just what is it going to mean to practice, not practice, excuse me, but to be out there in an actual game, coaching once again for this team. I should say coaching once again. He's never coached before. You know what I'm trying to say here, Corey? Like this.
I got you. I'm on board with you, buddy. Keep it going.
Thanks, man. It's just, I think it's something that I haven't talked enough about on the podcast, because I've been so enamored with Randy Clements and Kendall Briles. We really haven't given enough, potential shine or kind of a nice look at what potentially, we talked about how good the receivers are, but we never really talk about what Ron Dugans could mean to this segment. But they might be the deepest, most talented segment on the field, and what he's going through, I imagine there's going to be emotion on the line for him. But I imagine these guys who he said sent him a video to kind of lift his spirits are going to play with an extra sort of gear to their game on Saturday as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I hopefully they're motivated because it's a football game and they're trying to win games and be good. I I don't know that your coach's mom passing away. I mean, it might be a little extra. It'd be a great moment if they did win and they were able to, I don't know, present him with the game ball, something like that. But also, as someone and everybody that's listening to this show, Lord willing, you will have your parents die before you. That's a weird thing to say, but it certainly beats the alternative. So if you haven't gone through losing a parent, you will, and it's awful. And I don't think that's in it. Like, even like it's going to make him, obviously, he would be proud and he would be excited. But even getting a game ball, even the warm embrace of the team, man, that's just stuff you're dealing with by yourself. I mean, it really is. It's hard to explain, but it's you love the family coming around you, the cocoon and everything else. But it's also something he's just having to deal with, man. And it's hard, and it's going to be hard. And hopefully he can get a respite from the sadness and the grief by being out there on the practice field and being coaching on the sidelines at his alma mater on Saturday. Well, not at his alma mater, in Jacksonville, for his alma mater. But at the end of the day, he's still going to be sad, man, and it's grief that doesn't go away. It slowly dissolves a little bit, but it's always there. And those, I remember after my dad passed away, I was all right like the first week, weirdly. Like, I was sad, obviously, and I cried at the funeral a little bit when I spoke. But it was – sorry, that sounded like I was getting choked up. I took a weird breath.
You're like Gronk. Don't go Gronk.
It's not that kind of show, folks.
Don't go Gronk on us, man. Don't go Gronk.
But I'm not. That's my dad. No, that's not Gronk. It's Terrell Owens. That's my quarterback. That's my old man. But yeah, so the first week or so, I handled it pretty well. I broke down a couple times, but nothing major. But then there would be a day 3 weeks afterwards, or 5 weeks afterwards, or 2 years afterwards, where it's just a gut punch, and you can't talk to him. You want to say something to him. You want to say something to her, obviously, speaking for Dugans, and it's just tough. I don't know why I went down this rabbit hole. I don't know why I went on this rant. I hope they play hard just because they should be playing hard because they're Florida State players. I hope he gets solace. I hope he gets a win, and there can be a little light in the darkness for him. But it's going to be dark for a while. It just is. It's a sad time, and you're just looking when you're in that cloud, when you're mired in that darkness, you're just looking for little rays of light anywhere. And hopefully, I would never be dumb enough to equate, football isn't life or death. It's not nearly as important. But hopefully a win on Saturday would give Dugans, give his family, give those receivers who their coach has been through this, give them a little ray of light if they can win that game. You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I just thought, just be like, let's just talk about the receivers being good and, but that's real life. You've dealt with it and fortunately, it's something I haven't had to deal with, and it's something that, like you said, probably will happen. But anyhow,
again, don't you? I mean, that's the natural order of things. We want that to happen.
Right.
I want your parents to die before you, and I've never met your parents. I'm sure they're wonderful people, but I want to die before Brady. Of course, I don't even want to think about what that would be. But you know what I mean? Like, that's just the natural order of things. We all go through it, and even though most every person on the planet has to go through it. Especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, it's just not easy. It's just not easy. It's hard, man.
Yeah, you got to stick around for a little bit. Brady needs to add that fifth tool to his toolbox so that he is a true bona fide five-tool player.
Five-tool player. I don't know about the speed. I don't know if he's ever going to – the Clark wheels I don't think will ever qualify as a tool.
Yeah. Before we go, I guess maybe let's go on a high note, kind of.
You don't want to end on on parents passing away?
Nah, not this time, man.
Okay, all right. That's weird.
Andrew Boselli, former scholarship player for the Florida State Seminoles, took a year off, came back, walked on, found himself onto the 2-deep, backing up Big Bavion Johnson at the center position, and apparently on Tuesday was rewarded with a scholarship.
Coach Clem, come give some wise words.
A guy that I really thought did a good job today of focusing one rep at a time. Andrew Boselli. Where you at, Andrew? Boselli. Come here, buddy. Boselli. Hey, Coach Tag, he feels like you deserve a full scholarship.
Oh!
Hey, Selly.
I mean, thank you for staying. I'm speechless. I'm fired up.
And I think somebody asked us on the last Renegade Express about, I think, who's next in line, walk-on, to get a scholarship. I think Deontay Sheffield was the guy that we batted around. I don't know if I say anything about Boselli. I realize Boselli comes from good stock. His family's probably pretty well-to-do. He might not need it financially, but I don't know if coaches are thinking about it all that much. Well, apparently not. It's hard to think that you got a guy in your two deep that's not on scholarship. I feel bad for Deontay Sheffield. Apparently, he was told by Jimbo that he would be put on scholarship, and he, to the best of our knowledge, still hasn't been placed on scholarship, but he's a fourth-string running back. I guess you're a little bit more expendable in the grand scheme of things than to not make it too cold and calculated the way they do these things. But what a great story for him to have come here, has to live in the shadow of his father, maybe not as much as somebody like DeKalen, but to battle back, crack himself onto the two deep, and then now back on scholarship. He can eat with everybody in the cafeteria. That's got to be pretty cool.
Wonderful. Yeah, I looked it up. His dad made $32 million in the NFL. And I assume he's made more after that. Hopefully he invested that well. I don't know what he does now. Is he a broadcaster, his dad?
I don't know. I'll check
I didn't know
it
if he was like the Jacksonville Jaguars color man or something.
That sounds about right. But keep talking.
I could be completely wrong. I might have just completely made that up. But either way, yeah, man, it's cool. It's a cool story because, how many of Trickett's guys that ended up quitting football or quitting the school or quitting whatever end up coming back and playing for Florida State? And there was probably a dozen guys over the course of Trickett's time. And this isn't specific to Rick Trickett. It happens all over college football. But the guys that just left or quit or didn't want to be a part of it. And, look, Boselli quit. There's no other way to say it. He quit the team. He quit on it. I don't want to say he quit on his teammates. He just quit the team. But I guess he regained his love for the thing. He probably saw last year, they might need some help. And he worked really hard. And I don't like the thought that because his dad came from a lot of money, he doesn't need a scholarship. It's like, man, that's more than anything, that's a status. Like, does DeKalen Brooks? I'm pretty sure Derek Brooks made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know Asante Samuel made a lot of money. These kids are on scholarship too. They could have walked on. They're on scholarship. That is thing number one. And it shows to you this team. And because he's worked his tail off, that he belongs on the two deep of this football team, and he's a real-life Florida State football player again. So good for him because he's seen the other half now. He's seen what it's like to be a regular student, and he obviously didn't like it. But he came back, and he wasn't handed anything. But in my opinion anyway, he went out there and earned the way they talk about him, the fact that he is on the two deep. He probably will play at some point this season. Good for him, man. He earned this.
Yeah, pretty cool moment. It's they tweeted on the FSU football account. He ran right over to Willie and gave him a big hug. And it looks like everybody's giving him hugs. Looks like everyone's happy for him.
Right, and you think about those scenes normally, and they make you well up sometimes because you think, what has that kid gone through that completely changes his life? You know what I mean? That's a life changer. He now doesn't have to pay for meals or books or classes or anything else. It's a life changer for some kids. It might be a life changer for Deontay Sheffield. It's not a life changer for for Andrew Boselli. Like, his life's still pretty good, whether he's a walk-on or a scholarship athlete. But it's the reason it means so much to him is because he earned it. Yeah. It's that status of now you're a scholarship football player. You went out as a walk-on, worked yourself up to the second team, worked yourself back onto this football team, got in the good graces of this coaching staff, and you earned that scholarship, man. So, yeah, that's a cool story.
Yeah. His father, Tony Boselli, tweeted out, "Pretty damn cool. I love that, boy. #Go Noles." So
there you go.
Yeah. Corey, you should probably get some sleep. Maybe write something. Otherwise, I don't think. Did we miss anything else of note? I'm looking on the Tribal Council, warchant.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Renegade Express. Corey, thanks for being here as always, man. Thanks for gutting it out. True pro. Pro's pro.
I mean, that's what I do. And again, Tony Boselli, I just looked it up again. He's the lead analyst on Thursday Night Football for Westwood One Radio.
Thank you, Corey.
So
have a great day. We'll talk to y'all later.
Unlike fanny packs, bowl cuts, and troll dolls, the sensation is back, only at Zaxby's. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich features hand-breaded chicken, Asian slaw, wonton strips, and citrus vinaigrette, and both are served with an egg roll. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich meal, for a limited time, only at Zaxby's. And skip the line when you order ahead on the Zaxby's app or on Zaxby's.com.